The scheduling is crazy. It's absurd, are the words of Bernardo Silva. He's hit out very recently about the scheduling and the amount of fixtures players are being forced to play. If you think about the international break, the current one that's ongoing, they're so unnecessary. Is the Nations League really that important? Is there much demand for people to watch it? Are all these international breaks that important? Can players not just get a break? At the end of the season, we still had the Euros, we had the Olympics. You saw the amount of games somebody like Julian Alvarez had to play. And Bernardo Silva now, much like Pep Guardiola and Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri, and so many football players have said, there are too many games. The scheduling is crazy. You've got 4 cup competitions for a club like Manchester City to play in every season. The Champions League, the League Cup, the FA Cup, the Premier League. And the Champions League is bigger than it has ever been. It's more games. It's now a January fixture when there was actually a European break. There's now January fixtures. It's crazy. I'm a football fan, don't get me wrong. Any of you out there watching this video, I'd expect are football fans as well. But it's now crazy. It's getting to the point where, of course, I want to spend my money and watch and engage with games in however I can, in whatever way I can, like anyone else out there. But the football players out there are playing a ridiculous amount of games. City have 5 games in 2 weeks. We have a 1-day break for the League Cup against Watford. We've got 5 games in 2 weeks. In 17 days, we have 6 games. 3 of those will be away. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's the amount of travelling the players have to do, the amount of recovery, the intensity of the training, the amount of games they have to play, the frequency of injuries is going up. And it's becoming a joke, and it's all about making money. It's all about making money. You think about the Super League. All that was making money. More and more games. And thankfully, that got shut down in 2020 or 2021, whenever that came out. That got shut down, thankfully. But UEFA have still made a bigger Champions League format. I think it'll be more entertaining. 8 games, 4 home, 4 away, 1 against each part. You know, you get bigger clashes from the start. But there's got to be way more squad rotation as a result. There's too many games. There's too many games. I want there to be a game every day, but that can't happen. These football players, yeah, they get paid a lot of money. They're humans. Do you know what I mean? They can't be playing 3 times a week. And the financial constraints on clubs with FFP and all this stuff that's complete nonsense, by the way. You can't even invest in your squad and build a far bigger squad to play in all these games because you can only spend what you earn. So it's outrageous. It's hugely counterproductive. You're not letting clubs spend, but then you want them to play twice as many games. I saw that FIFA Pro, one of the official accounts of FIFA, tweeted out earlier that Phil Foden is expected to play 83 games this season. You think the end of last season, as I said, Julian Alvarez, somebody like him playing a lot of minutes, Olympics, Euros, there's so much going on, Copa America, there's so many competitions, and then City are going to finish this season and head off to the Club World Cup. The Club World Cup, 3 group games, then and round of 16, quarter-final, semi-final, final. That's another load of games in America, all to generate money for... Obviously, the players are taking a chunk of that, but it's absolutely crazy. The amount of minutes these guys are expected to play. They're human beings. And Bernardo Silva said, which is one of the saddest things, he didn't get any free time and he didn't get to see his family. And Manchester City's squad is good. I'm glad we can compete in so many competitions. And people would say, you know, if your players can't hack it, you know, you'll get knocked out on the competitions. We are probably the best football club in the world, right? And we're not just going to get knocked out of a competition because our players are tired. What we need is the authorities at the top to stop adding so many games to the calendar. These players can't deal with it. And at some point, it's all going to come. There's going to be a breaking point. It's all going to come tumbling down. Some major event will happen. I know it will. And there's going to be a major uproar from players because it's coming. There's too many players that are upset about this. There's too many managers that are upset. The staff. It's non-stop. The players don't ever get a break. And even when the league and Champions League and club football stops temporarily, you're still getting these the nonsense, these international breaks. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a huge international fan. I love watching England play at the major tournaments, but no one really cares about these friendlies in UEFA Nations League. They're pointless, and all they're doing is stressing players more travelling, different training programs with different set of players and managers. What it's doing is it's forcing players to get injuries. And we see a lot of talk about the frequency of injuries and how players have so much stress, but there's nothing being done to... We see all this research and we see all these media reports going on about that. It's never actually stopped. There's nothing put in place to stop players playing so much. And maybe what it is a bit of relaxation on the FFP stuff so that clubs can buy more players. Players don't need to play as regularly. They can get rested. They can have little bits of time off here and there. Maybe it's that. Maybe clubs should be allowed to spend more. Or maybe there needs to just be a cutback on the amount of games. You think about the League Cup, and obviously the lower clubs wouldn't agree with this, but you've got a two-legged semi-final. Is that really necessary? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's stuff like that. 8 games in the group phase of the Champions League. 8 games. That does not seem necessary. 6 was a lot. You look at the amount of games. Like Rodri last season, this guy, he didn't get injured, right? And I hope to God he doesn't get injured this season. But this guy played a ridiculous amount of games. He played almost every game for City. He's then gone off to the Euros, played every game for Spain near enough, won that. Do you know what I mean? This guy, he can't catch a break. And I'm glad Pep took it into his own hands to give these players, Kevin De Bruyne, Foden, all the guys that made it far in the Euros, Rodri, he gave them a big break. And they didn't even compete really in pre-season. They didn't really get a chance to play because they were having their time off, and you need that break. You can't just be playing every 2 days, because one, it's not good for players' mental health. It's not good for the physical health. And it's just, it's not, I don't know what you guys think. Make sure you leave a comment with what you think about this. But I've had to make this video because I've seen so many comments about players being overworked. I've seen Bernardo Silva now get really annoyed in a press conference and say, it's just frustration. I've seen it so many times. Pure frustration from the players because there are too many games. I've literally said, right, I'm a City fan. If we could play every day, I'd go to all of them. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to watch all those games. But I understand these guys are people. You know what I mean? They're not just robots other than Haaland that can play 90 minutes every 2 days. Something needs to happen. And what the problem is it's the greed. It's the greed of all, you know, the broadcasters want a gate. Stupid. The fans are never cared about either. Do you know what I mean? These games are broadcast at stupid times, at silly dates. Do you know what I mean? You get a Thursday night in London. How are fans expected to get there? How are the players expected to get there? We've got a day rest after we play Arsenal before a Carabao Cup fixture against Watford. Just imagine if that was away. Thankfully, it's at home. It's a little bit easier for us fans. It's a little bit easier for the players and staff. But it's just outrageous to see these players getting put through this schedule. And as I said, 14 days, 5 games. 14 days, 5 games. Players have to have a recovery day in there that they're not going to get, so they're going to get more injured. Stuff like that. And for me, it's sad to see because this is a working man's sport at the end of the day. That's what it initially was. Not only are fans getting priced out the game, but the players are getting overworked. And I'm just seeing everything going the wrong way. The Super League, thankfully was shut down. That didn't happen. But this Champions League format, as much as I like it, and I think it's more competitive and more interesting, I think it's just overworking the players and the amount of fixtures, as I've said. This seems like quite a rant, but the amount of fixtures these players are getting put through is not talked about enough. And when it is talked about, nothing's ever done. Nothing is ever done to fix it. You see on Sky and all these videos being made about how many times players have played, and it's all like a big laugh and a joke, but now the players are having a meltdown, and I think it's just going to pick up. It's going to snowball. And at some point, I think some of them are just going to refuse to play, or I don't know what's going to happen, but something will hopefully happen about this. Yeah, Bernardo is not happy. I'm not surprised. A lot of the players aren't happy about what's going on, but hopefully this scheduling stuff can get addressed because it's pure greed, financial greed from the top. Crazy stuff. Bernardo Silva not happy. Neither am I, and neither are any of the players. Cheers for watching. See you in the next one.